Hey Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabha Girivardhari Gopi Janabha Girivardhari Gopi Janabha Girivardhari Gopi Janabha Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Rajajana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stataya Sudisha A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Shri Gaunitai ki Shri Jagannath Baladev Shabhadra ki Shri Radha Landaneshwara ki Kuntaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Shri Bhadrapurnim campaign ki Gaura Premanandi. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glorious to Sri Prabhupada. Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namani. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivasesha Sanyavari Pastipadesh. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. We're on the second canto?
Yes.
Okay.
First chapter,
First verse. Okay. Back to the beginning. You started you went round all the way around again. Huh? Very nice. Second canto. Now, of course, this transcendental direction behind everything, but I see on the front cover of the second canto, is that Radha Gopinath in Sydney? I'm not sure. The deities, maybe not.
You'd know better.
Huh? But they're definitely not from here.
No.
That's for sure.
We do have a brother in the Israel.
Well, that was Prabhupada's instruction when he was asked about what to put on the second canto, the reprint of the second canto. Prabhupada said Radha Landaneshwara. And they said, what about part 2, Rameshwar said? And Prabhupada said, Radha Gokulananda. But they put, look, we need work. Because it's from LA. But now, I don't know. who makes the decisions, but definitely it was Prabhupada's directive to put Radha Landineshwar on the front cover in Canto. Never mind, there's no difference in one sense. So we are starting a new chapter by the sounds of it, and it's a very beautiful title. The title of this chapter is Pure Devotional Service, the change in heart. The change in heart. And a heart transplant, a little different to the mundane perspective. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kindly repeat, I presume you have it on screen. Shri Shukuvacha Evam Mitan Nigaditam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Nrinang Yang Miyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam Shri Shukuvacha Evam Mitan Nigaditam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Rinamya Niyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam Shri Shukuvacha Evam Meta Nigaditam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Rinamyan Niyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam Shri Shukuvacha Evam Meta Nigaditam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Rinamyan Niyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam Shri Shukuvacha Evam Etan Nigaditam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Nrinam Yan Miyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam Shri Shukuvacha Evam Etan Nigaditam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Nrinam Yan Miyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam
Shri Shukuvacha
Shri Shukuvacha
Evam Mitan Nigaditam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama
Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Rinam Yan Miyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam Shri Shukuvacha Evam Etan Nigaditam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Rinam Yan Miyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam Shri Shukuvacha Evam Etan Nigaditam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Nrinam yan miyamananang Manusheshu manishinam. Shri Shukovacha. Evam etan nigaditam. Vishtavan yad bhavanama. Nrinam yang miyamananam. Manusheshu manishinam. Shri Shukovacha. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, Evam, so, etat, all these, nigaditam, answered, Prishtavan, as you inquired, yat, what, Bhavan, your good self, Mama, unto me, Rinam, of the human being, Yat, one, Mryamananam, on the threshold of death, Manu Sheshu, amongst the human beings, Manishinam, of the intelligent men. Translation and purport. This is the chapter 3 of the second canto, text number 1. Pure devotional service, the changing heart. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, as you have inquired from me as to the duty of the intelligent man who is on the threshold of death, so I have answered you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In human society, all over the world, there are millions and billions of men and women, and almost all of them are less intelligent because they have very little knowledge of spirit soul. Almost all of them have a wrong conception of life. For they identify themselves with the gross and subtle material bodies, which they are not, in fact. They may be situated in different high and low positions in the estimation of human society. But one should know definitely that unless one inquires about his own self beyond the body and the mind, all of his activities in human life are total failures. Therefore, out of thousands and thousands of men, one may inquire about his spirit self and thus consult the revealed scriptures like the Vedanta Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. But in spite of reading and hearing such scriptures, unless one is in touch with a realized spiritual master, he cannot actually realize the real nature of the self, etc. And out of thousands and hundreds of thousands of men, someone may know what Lord Krishna is in fact. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 20, verses 122 to 123, it is said that Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, prepared the Vedic literatures in the incarnation of Vyasadeva for reading by the intelligent class of men in a human society which is almost totally forgetful of the genuine relation with Krishna. even such an intelligent class of men may be forgetful in their relation with the Lord. The whole Bhakti Yoga process is therefore a revival of the lost relation. This revival is possible in the human form of life, which is obtained only out of the evolutionary cycle of 8,400,000 species of life. The intelligent class of human being must take a serious note of this opportunity. Not all human beings are intelligent, so the importance of human life is not always understood. Therefore, manishinam, meaning thoughtful, is particularly used here. A manishinam person, like Maharaj Parikshit, must therefore take to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and fully engage himself in devotional service, hearing, chanting, etc., of the holy name and pastimes of the Lord, which are all Hari Katamrita. This action is especially recommended when one is preparing for death. We see in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam how the sages also inquired. First canto, Shukadeva Goswami is not present. First canto is the account of the discussion between the sages of Naimisharanya and Sutta Goswami. Shukadeva only enters at the very end, because in terms of the, you say, the literature's chronology, and basically begins at the beginning of the second canto. The first canto, in that sense, is basically speaking what was spoken at Naimisharanya. Everything was spoken there, but specifically and exclusively the first canto. Whether this was spoken directly by Shukadeva Goswami, of course, and Sutta is simply repeating it. But it's Sutta's words being recorded there. Whereas in the second canto we see, if we go right to the very beginning, text number 1, Sri Sukha Uvacha. And he's replying, the king, at the end of the first canto, is King Parikshit, who, as we all know, was on the verge of death from the mundane perspective. And he's asking these questions specifically for the welfare of others. Specifically. He himself has nothing to fear. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. Same thing we see in the first canto, the sages. Of course, they're all at various levels, but with Samika Rishi, the appointed head of the sages, he's asking these questions of Sutta Goswami of a similar, perhaps a little bit more extensively requested questions for the welfare of all. Manaya Sado Prishtoham Bhavabir Lokamangalam Yat Krita Krishna Samprashno Yenatma Superseded. So the Goswami then praises the sages that your questions are worthy. They're very valuable questions because they relate to the personality of Godhead. They're not just questions, oh, is there a medicine to cure me? Can you give me a mantra to counteract this curse of Shringi? Can you tell me how I can, counteract the snake bird? Can you please give me sense gratification? I'm missing my favorite pizza at the time of death. When you're on death row, they give you a last request. What would you like to eat? You can choose your favorite meal. I don't know if they still do that, but they don't have death row in that sense now. They used to do that. You could choose anything you like to eat, your last meal, the last supper, before you're out of there. So he didn't ask any of these type of questions. Ordinary persons ask different things. But he's asking, what is my duty? The sages were asking, they weren't on the verge of death, but they were asking relevant questions too. These questions are relevant to the human society, the welfare. They're real questions of welfare. Asking all these other questions, as Prabhupada says in the purport, are pretty much a waste of time. Shrama evahi kevalam. Sutta Goswami describes them as a waste of time, complete waste. Dharmasvanishita pumsam vishvaksena katasino pariyadyadevating shrama evahi kevalam. The activities which include our questions and answers of a human being which are not related to the personality of Godhead are simply a waste of time. But practically, almost exclusively in fact, the questions and answers of human society fall into that bracket. Isn't it? How much time now, I don't know, but people seem to spend much of their time now in social media and like that. And maybe finding out things, useless stuff, or insignificant, no value whatsoever, because they have no idea of the goal. They're like children, they have no idea, babies, as to what's going on, and whatever comes its way, they kind of indulge in it. They have no idea of the soul, no idea of the goal of life, no idea of why I'm here in the first place. No, total ignorance practically of everything. Prabhupada says here, they have no idea about the soul, etc. That's just the first thing. That's not the end of it. That's the first step in spiritual life. It's at least a theoretical understanding that we're not the body. But people don't inquire. If they do inquire, they get shut down, practically, or misled by some, false response. Even in the name of religion, generally speaking, very little direction is there at all. Some speculative, vague ideas sometimes about why you're born where you are, what happens when you die, who are you, and so on. Or to speak of knowledge of God or the absolute truth or a relationship with the absolute. They only study things within their little shell, and that's very limited. I mean, how much we can understand in our tiny little situation we're in on the Earth planet is very limited and imperfect. Radha Landanishwar ki jai. What to speak of beyond it? People are so much in the modes of nature. Unless one's in the mode of goodness, actually one cannot understand this. So, what hope? And Prabhupada refers here to, in Manushinam, the necessity of approaching somebody who is actually not just thoughtful, but has understood this subject matter. The most greatest amongst human beings. We see in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. What's the 4th chapter called? Excuse me? Transcendental knowledge, Divyagam. What is there are several topics in that chapter. If we were asked what would be your main point of that chapter, what would you sort of express?
Unbroken knowledge through the cyclic succession.
Excuse me?
The knowledge that is unbroken through the cyclic succession.
Okay, first beginning, evam parampara, evam, what's it called? Evam parampara praptam imam rajasyo vidu. How this knowledge, Krishna says, had passed down through this disciplic succession, is received. It's not concocted or created by, it's passed down, it exists, eternal existing. Spiritual knowledge is eternal knowledge. It's passed down through this line. There's several subjects of that, many subjects, every chapter has, but that chapter especially has many different variations, very significant for the change of heart. It's geared towards the change of heart. Why Krishna comes into this world is, in short, is expressed clearly by the Lord, and the purpose of his coming into this world, and how to understand his purpose of coming into this world is explained. Various paths are given in that 4th chapter. Prabhupada basically summarizes these various paths in that chapter which are mentioned by expressing that unless these paths, whether it's the paths of study or charity or renunciation or brahmachari life or whatever it may be, different recommendations acting in a way that there's no reaction, following the varnashram system, and so on, are recommended in that chapter, or conditioned souls, to evoke or to understand the purpose of life. Prabhupada summarizes them by saying basically, they're all material, unless they lead. There's one verse in that chapter. In fact, Prabhupada one time said this is the most significant verse in the Gita. We don't normally hear that. See, all these various paths are given by Krishna. But what's the purpose of these paths is to reach somewhere. It's not just to go round in circles or back and forward, up and down, dead end, whatever it is. There's a purpose. And that's also clearly explained in the 4th chapter. What is that purpose?
No birth again.
Excuse me? Well, that's again, some would say like that. It's part of it, but it's not the actual purpose. Excuse me? Well, that's, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path. Because nothing exists outside of Krishna's energy. Even the ability to follow a mundane path comes from Krishna. He's rewarding or reciprocating with the living entity and providing the living entity with the facility, even the brain, the mind, even reminding of the desire and the facility to try to fulfill it by expanding himself, energetically expanding as the material energy and the modes of nature and so on, to facilitate that. So the living entity can't create anything on its own, basically. Everything is a gift of God, even whatever it may be. It's a reciprocation as they surrender unto me. But that's not the verse which Prabhupada referred to. It's an important verse. They're all important. What verse in the 4th chapter? Where we've kind of gone back a little bit to first of all establish what is the goal. Arjuna was asking questions. So this is one of the significant statements, every statement, but this is a very significant statement because you mentioned, I don't know your name, to not take birth again. That's not our goal, really, is it? I mean, maybe you kind of a nice idea, but it's not really our goal. I mean, it doesn't mean anything, really. The Buddhists, they also don't want to take birth again. The Mayavadis don't want to take birth again. The Karmas don't want to take birth again either. It's so horrible, and I never want to be born here again. I hope I'm not eternal. I hope that's the end of the nightmare. Come back again into another nightmare. You know, kind of in one sense, some people do, but it's a common thing. I don't want to take birth again. I don't know. They deny the very philosophy of reincarnation, and it's not palatable. Otherwise, well, God, I think, what will happen to me? I'm suffering enough as it is, and all the sins I'm committing in this life, goodness knows what my next round will be. They did away with it, you know. Some religions actually abolished this idea of reincarnation specifically to facilitate, you know, licentious behavior in the name of religion. Oh, but what's the verse which is really key in this verse, in this chapter? Thank you. Janma karma chame divyam.
Oh, that's what I meant, Maharaj.
Yeah, but you didn't say the proper part of it. You said the back end, you know. It's like, what does a person look like? You just describe their rear end, you know. Yeah, so what is it? Janma karma chame divyam.
I focused on the wrong part.
You forgot the main part, yeah. Our main part is to enjoy bliss forevermore, right? That's our goal of life. That's not our goal of life. Is it? Maybe. But that's not a devotee's goal of life. What's a devotee's goal of life? Excuse me? Okay, that's the state of a devotee's con. But what's their goal?
Love of Krishna.
What does that mean? You enjoy his senses, you know, like you do in the material world. Oh, he's very beautiful. Oh, I like to kiss him. What's it mean?
Serve Krishna. Serve Krishna.
Serve Krishna, yes. Well, they're all true, but what's the real purpose?
To understand that divine.
Understanding is a preliminary. These verses are, in one sense, preliminary. They're a key verse, but it's kind of preliminary in one sense, isn't it? Who's over there? Oh, you're pointing the finger at someone else there. Putting him on the spot, huh? A good way of defraying it from yourself. He's really learned. He can answer that. I'm just fallen. What is the yeah, your love of God is correct. Take it a little bit more personal. I don't know if you get more personal than that, but a little bit more in practicality, let's say.
To satisfy the senses of
Okay, there we go. Rishikena Rishikesha Bhakti Sevuchite. To satisfy the Lord's senses. What does that mean?
our desire should be.
Oh, some of you may be parents, I don't know. Have any of you got kids? You have kids. You have kids? Any of you ladies have kids? Any ladies have kids here? Only one of you. You know, what's your, hopefully anyway, maybe you say something different, I don't know, but what's your, if you're a child, what's your desire? What do you like to see? What do you like to see with your child?
He becomes pure devotee.
Becomes yeah, well, that's what I said. You're one of those Hare Krishna fanatics, you know. This kind of a utopian idea and so on. But most parents, what do they want? They just want to see their children happy, don't they? They want to see them satisfied, you know. I mean, what that entails is a detail, but the principle is they like to see their children happy. They may not know what that means reality, but that's the idea. So their goal is to please Krishna. We want to do things which make him happy. We want to simply exist for his pleasure. The devotee is not interested in I'm happy or not happy. I mean, we may not be on that platform. That's the objective. So these are preliminaries. The questions and answers in the first canto cover everything, but a lot of it, even here we see in the second canto right at the beginning, Shukadeva Goswami says, "My dear king, your question is glorious." Why? Because it satisfies me? Yes and no. Because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. All kinds of people. Not just your own, group. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. prime subject. What does you have? Prime mark over the road there. Can you get the answer over there? Maybe they can give you the answer too. What does prime mean? Most of you know. Some of you, English is not your first language. You may not know this word. What is prime?
Utmost priority.
Utmost priority, yeah? Topmost priority. Yeah, topmost. Topmost subject matter for hearing is the goal of all hearing. The answer to this question. Interesting. The question itself is the most significant question for people in general. This subject matter here is really for, changing the heart. If your heart's already changed, that's another thing. But for the change in heart, this question is the prime question. What was the question of Parikshit? Can you remember?
What's the duty of someone who's facing death?
Right.
What's the duty of someone who's facing death?
Yeah, what is the duty of a person at the time of death? What should they be thinking, doing, whatever like that? What? It's a very simple question. And, if you don't put it to the right person, you probably won't get much of a useful answer. I don't know what they'll say. Duty at the time of death. And people probably don't ask that question very often. I don't know. I don't think so. I've never heard, but I've not that experience in that sense. But, what is your duty at the time of death? What does it mean to people? Not much. To think of your family, to try to hand everything over, to make sure your will is in order, things like that maybe. Make sure the house is tidy and everything. Make sure your dog continues to get fed by the next generation. What your duties at the time of death. People will think differently, I guess. But this is all insignificant in reality. The real point is, what is the purpose of human life? Now, the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. To understand the transcendental nature of the personality of Godhead, His appearance and activities in this world. Because if we understand that, then what happens? And what you said it already, what happens? A byproduct, what happens? You don't have to take birth again, right? So that definitely is something which is, for conditioned souls, is significant. But how to do that? Is it just a matter, as Prabhupada says here, you can read the books? You can read the books, but what will you understand? Maybe something, but you won't get to the prime point. What will we understand without one thing? What is the key verse of that fourth chapter? Now, the goal of that fourth chapter, you could say, in Jama Karma Chame Divyam. All the knowledge, all the endeavors are to understand Krishna in truth. Not just some theory, but to understand the actual nature of Godhead. And there's one most key verse in order for that to happen. Is that somebody answering online? It'll become like this in due course of time. There'll be nobody sitting there. There'll just be different things going, electronic things popping and coming and going. There'll be a machine giving class as well. You won't need people anymore. You just have some computer there giving class. You don't need people anymore. One of the most famous scientists of the last century said that very soon, he said, our technology is advancing. We will not need human beings much longer. Interpret the way you wish. Interesting statement. Somebody said something there about the key verse. What did they say? Thank you. Thank you. Very well done. What is that verse? Tadvidi Panipani. What does it mean? Inquire from him. Challenging, is it? Challengingly. Don't give him any service. Is that right? humble, submission. Inquire submissively and render service unto him. What's the point of that? You're being duped.
Because they've seen the truth and they can impart
Because they've seen the truth and they can impart
it onto you.
that knowledge unto us. It's not a matter of theory here. These inquiries are not just for some speculative enjoyment. Prabhupada said this movement is not armchair philosophy. You simply talk philosophy. It's realization. In fact, also in the 4th chapter, you see at the end of the chapter, there's an interesting verse where Krishna says, one who applies himself to this knowledge realizes this knowledge in due course of time. The actual knowledge, one receives from the pure devotee, that verse is after Tadviti Pranipati. Up to that point, there are many paths to which people may apply in their lives. Prabhupada says they really don't lead to the goal unless one has this connection with the pure devotee of the Lord. So Krishna gives the revelation. Knowledge is to be realized. It's realized when we use it properly. It's a very simple logic in one sense. It's like some of you are cooks. We have Yun here. I understand he's a cook. Yun, you're a cook? You're not a spirit soul, you're a cook. He's a cook. Eternal cook? Maybe, who knows, maybe. And maybe our eternal service in service of the Lord. At this stage, his conditional nature, he likes to cook. He's experienced cook in various ways. And, okay, so you want to cook for somebody, what do you do?
Ask them what they like.
Okay, it's a good start, isn't it? You find out what they like. It's a pretty good start, isn't it? Inquiry. What does Krishna like? Okay, that's a pretty good start. Then what do you do? Cook what you like. Oftentimes it's like that. I like this, therefore I'll cook this. I'm sure Krishna likes it too. If I like it, he must like it. What do you do next? I mean, there's lots of things. You're going to see how you can get the ingredients together. And if you don't know how to cook it, what are you going to do? Speculate?
Search it out.
Pardon?
You search it out.
You try to find out. Somehow or another, you try to find out how to prepare it, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to please them. So we try to find out from somebody, or some way, even a book is written by somebody who knows. So from somebody who knows, you try to find out how to do it. I've done it. I've got the recipe. Is that the end of it? They come to your house and you just give them the recipe. Here you go. Here's your pizza. Enjoy it. You give them a recipe, Is that the end of it?
Follow the instructions.
Follow the instructions. And then, what do you do then? Eat it? Sell it? Throw it away? And you offer it to them, huh?
Yeah.
Here, take this stuff. I don't like it, but if you like it, here it is. You do it like that? Love and devotion. Materially, it's a very simple example. Very simple. Not complicated. You have to put the knowledge into practice. You can't eat knowledge. You can speculate. You can, argue with each other. You can have a bit of, mental, intellectual kind of sense gratification, but you can't get any benefit from it. In reality, you have to prepare it. You have to eat it. Now, the self-realized souls, they're tasting that nectar every moment, and they want us to taste it too. And they give us the direction how to taste that knowledge, the fruit of that knowledge. And again, in the 4th chapter, the fruit. We have the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. There's so many things we could talk on this. Can someone bring the Bhagavad Gita, please? We're just touching the surface here of this topic.
I can pull it up on the screen.
Excuse me?
I can pull it up on the screen. Which verse and chapter?
Can't hear you.
I can pull it up on the screen. Which chapter? Or verse?
You can make the.
Oh yeah, but I've got to find it first. You have the Bhagavad Gita? Here it is. This is a very wonderful verse in the 4th chapter. Somebody poured some water on this book. Text 38. Text 38, you got it? In this world there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. Transcendental knowledge means actual knowledge about Krishna and their nature and relationship. And one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. It's unavoidable. It's not that that's necessarily a pure devotee's objective to enjoy within himself. It happens automatically. In love, it's like that. Krishna's reciprocation. Anyway, this chapter is very, very preliminary, very significant in this change of heart, particularly that verse, Tadvidi Pranipate, now the importance of Manishinam in this verse is mentioned in the 3rd chapter. The importance of having that, or approaching or hearing from a self-realized soul. And then he said, this is approved by all transcendentalists. Then he goes on to answer, and then, first of all, he explains, as Prabhupada did in the purport, that persons who are so materially engrossed are blind. They're blind to this subject. They can't even see it when it's in front of their face. It's like a foreign language. They're covered. You can't see it when you're covered. You can't see anything when you're covered. So their life is wasted away. They have no Atma Tattva, or knowledge of the self, Sukadev says. They're taking shelter of Atma Sanyasa Satsati. Tradishu. Atma Sanyasa Satsati. Fallible soldiers. They think that they're going to save them at the time of death. Some medicine, or some magic, or whatever it may be, or somebody, whatever reason, is going to save them at the time of death. But the process of, let's say, of really understanding how that works, he gives then, verses, it must be this one of these verses. Here it is. Is it? No. I probably missed it. I'll read them, and otherwise I might miss it. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life. Being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. O descendant of Bharat, one who desires to be free from all miseries, very significant verse, Tasmat Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari. Pretty much the same verse is there in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto. Same thing. That one should constantly hear about, chant, and remember the personality of Godhead. One who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller and the savior from all miseries. The highest perfection of human life achieved, and here, this is the verse. The highest perfection of human life, prime or the goal of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duties, the perfection of all activity, is to, what is it? Is the human life. And human life is referring to souls who are somewhat, as Prabhupada said, forgetful of their relationship with Krishna. So they do all these various activities there, whether it's occupational duty or mystic practices or analysis. In our case, of course, focused on devotional practices. But what is the actual perfection of all of that? For conditioned souls. Ante Narayana Smriti. What does that mean? It's the most famous line in the answers of Sukadeva Goswami. Ante Narayana Smriti means
Thinking of Lord.
remember the Lord at the end. Ante, end, Narayana, the Lord. Smriti, remember. Remember the Lord at the end of one's life, on the verge of death. To remember somehow or another, to remember Krishna at the time of death. Because that's the question he's asked. Of course, that's not the end of it. I mean, there's a whole process. The rest of Bhagavatam is developed in that principle, how to remember Krishna at the time of death. You can't just have something like an alarm clock that goes off at the end of life. Remember Krishna now. Okay, something, maybe, who knows, it may work, but that's not the idea of Bhagavatam exactly. It's to be absorbed in Krishna always. I was at the dentist yesterday, and the dentist kept saying, just relax your jaw, it's like, just kept reminding me, just relax, And we need a gentle reminder, no doubt. Devotees at the time of death also need a gentle reminder. Devotees around them chanting Hare Krishna or reminding them of, Krishna somehow or another. You often need that help. Ante Narayana Smriti. Remember the Lord at the end. So that's the highest goal, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of his life. Mainly, Sukadeva says, O King Parikshit, mainly the topmost transcendentalists who are above the regulated principles and restrictions take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. They're always remembering him. When we associate with persons of that nature, naturally they remind us of Krishna. When you associate with mundane people, then they remind you of materialism, the sense gratification, most dangerous association. So this is the secret here, to associate. Go back to today's verse, very shortly. Chapter 3, is it? Chapter 3, text 1. Yes. As you have inquired from me as to the duty of the intelligent man who is on the threshold of death, so I have answered you. And it's so significant. Human life is very rarely obtained, as Prabhupada mentioned, Manushanam Sahasrishu Jastidaya. Out of many hundreds and thousands of men, hardly one inquires what to speak of, inquire from the right person, what to speak of, absorbing or receiving the answer and practically applying the answer in their lives. Formulas have to be applied or recipes in order to get the results. So Bhagavatam gives the recipe for the change of heart. Okay, any questions? We could read that verse in, could you put that on the board? Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 20, 122. Is it on the screen? Is it on the screen? Yeah. Prabhupada quotes it or refers to it. He doesn't give the actual translation, but he refers to the verse. Madhya Lila, chapter 20, verse 122. Someone put it up on the screen. Is it there? Just now coming. Tell me when it's there. Can somebody read it in English?
The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort, but out of causeless mercy, Lord Krishna compiled the Vedic literature and its supplements for us. Very, very good.
There's another nice verse in the first canto of a similar nature. Out of his causeless mercy, he wants us to wake up. He wants us to revive a relationship with him. Kind of like when you sleep at night, you may forget all about your relationships in the day. Some of them come up in muddled ways. But we forget our daily life, practically speaking, when we sleep at night. We need to be awoken, revived. This is the revival process. Anartopashamam Sakshat Bhakti Yoga Dhokshya. Seventh chapter, first canto. Anartopashamam Sakshat. That the material miseries of the living entity are superfluous. They have nothing to do with the soul. We're just identifying with them. When we think we're suffering, we're not. Or we're enjoying, we're not. Because the soul is transcendent, is beyond. But because of identity, therefore we suffer. Therefore, this can be mitigated by the simple process of devotional service. But the conditioned souls forgotten this. Therefore, Vyasadeva has compiled these Vedic literature to remind us of who we are, what our goal of life is, and how to realize it. It's so important to. Now you have your Bhadra campaign. Tomorrow is Purnima, right? Tomorrow is Purnima.
Yes.
First day of Chaturmas. Not Bhadra Purnima, it's Purnima.
Oh.
Yeah, tomorrow is 2 months to go before Bhadra Purnima. But tomorrow is Purnima. So a good day to recollect and to, fire up again to see how much mercy Vyasadeva compiled this Bhagavatam for everyone. They may not yet be ready until they approach a point where they approach a realized soul. They won't really understand it much. But still, that's necessary foundation there, subject matter. So I don't know how many sets have you distributed so far in this campaign?
Well, we can announce the scores for the Bhaktivinoda Thakur Marathon.
Huh?
But thus far this year,
Bhadra Purnima, how many sets so far?
I think total, almost 100.
So far, in 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Another 2 months to go. These are usually the gear stick goes up a gear or two in the next month or two, usually. So maybe, what's your aim? 400, 500?
Over 300.
300. Nice. How many did you do last year?
We distributed actually a total of 220 so far. I don't know that.
This year?
Yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah, well, you should have an idea.
I should. We lost count. It's just gone so good, we lost count.
It's gone so good you lost count.
Yeah.
That's one nice way of looking
And
at
we
it.
just have to keep losing count again until we just absolutely smash the goal.
But even Krishna counted his cows, and he's got more than 220 cows.
Yeah.
So pretty good, all of you together. I don't know who all of you are, but that's pretty good. 220 sets so far, and you haven't even started yet. Because 300 is not at all realistic. Minimum 500.
Yeah.
We were told by others 1,000. Some of your,
Pardon?
some like Vaisheshika Prabhu and other sannyasis would come and say a minimum of 1,000.
Minimum 1,000, okay, no problem. But at least try to do 500. Got to up it a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe in the UK more than 1,000. Yeah. What's the total worldwide? What's the target?
Forget. You know how much it is?
We are so
Worldwide
prone
goal?
to forget. We don't know what our goal is. We should at least know. Playing football. Oh, I forgot what the goal is. You've got to know what your goal is.
I think it's over 100,000.
Is it? You think.
I think.
He thinks.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Oh, yes.
Try to find out. You never forget Prabhupada when he was morning walk.
Yeah.
If ever you know Rohini Nandan Prabhu, an English devotee, he asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada asked him a question. I think it was, what is that? What type of tree is that? He said, I think, and Prabhupada didn't even let him say a word more. Don't say, I think. If you don't know, say you don't know. Don't say, I think. No, or don't know, but don't say, I think. That's all right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting on a case. You're sincerely trying to, respond. But it's good to know. It's nice to know where we're going, and how then you have a better chance of having a goal, you have a better chance of reaching it.
68,000.
Worldwide?
68,000.
Oh, it's not so many. Not so many. I always have a kind of like, I don't know what to say. It's like when the scores are shared at the end of the campaign, and then you have various sanghas at the end discussing the nectar of distributing Bhagavatam, how many was distributed and so on. You different parts always start. E.g., this year we beat our quota. We had a quota of 16. We did 25. And in New Zealand, quota of 500. We did 600. And it comes up. Fantastic. Now let's see where we stand. We got to America, Europe, Australia, Asia, Africa, South America. We have distributed worldwide 9,900 sets of Bhagavatams. And then India, 62,000 sets. We made the quota. We did it. It's 95% done in India. That's fine. But we can always try to share this.
We have very good news for you because we're tracking qualitative as well.
We're doing what?
Qualitative tracking, not only quantitative.
Not just quantity.
Yeah.
Oh, there we have a
And
very,
so
very good.
We have evidence as well. We have evidence. That's why you have the screen.
Evidence.
Oh yeah. And,
Evidence of the results of the Bhagavad.
yeah, every single Westerner, foreigner.
I got an evidence the other day too. Someone sent me a letter and said, "Can you please send me a replacement for the third canto, part 2 of the Bhagavatam?" Because when I got to chapter 14, there were 16 blank pages. So, oh no, we've got to break a set. What are we going to do? But the root is evidence that it's working, because that means they've read it, and now they want to read it, but it's not there to read. That's good, isn't it? Can you remind me to respond to it today, because it was on WhatsApp, and I hate WhatsApp. Unless you answer it immediately, you just forget about it, and it just disappears in 10 million other WhatsApp messages.